Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Derp Your Hooves. So today we are in the Cessna Citation X by Flight FX. So it's a Cessna Citation 750, and it's actually a pretty impressive aircraft. So we are flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I'm sure I'll get into the reasons why as we are doing the flight, but if you purchase this aircraft, you can fly it in either 2020 or 2024. And it does fly well in 2024. I'll say it flies well in 2020. So, take a look around it, and we've got a semi-custom livery that we downloaded from flightsim.to, and we just modified a little bit. And we won't be releasing this on the marketplace because I don't believe in doing stuff like that, like taking someone else's livery and then claiming it as your own. So even if I modify someone else's, I ask for permission first. So let's go ahead and just take a look in the cockpit here. So we've got our, tablet here, our electronic flight bag, right? But we've got our tablet, and it looks a lot like, it looks similar to the Cessna Citation that you get in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 right out of the box, but it's not. And you can tell it's not because, it's got a completely different GPS and completely different displays, and you've got your tablet here on the side, and you have this nifty little feature which they never gave us, which is, ta-da, a passenger compartment. So here in the passenger compartment, we can hold up to, 6 passengers? And it even has, if you believe it, and this is why sometimes I love these third-party aircraft so much, it even has a bathroom. Look at that. And so you can virtually go to the bathroom, I guess, but you can't pick up the seat. So it's got a little bathroom. We can come out of here. And it's got all these other cool little features like cockpit door. Not cockpit door, but it's got tables that pull out and that go back in. And other cool stuff like it's got lighting. So let's go back to the cockpit. And we can do things like turn on the lights in the cockpit. It's got entry lights. It's got... Come on, pony. Fear of the label. It's got overhead lights, and you can dim them and brighten them. And you know what? We're actually going to put them on because we are going to put passengers in the plane today. And the passengers are going to look awfully familiar if you've ever flown something like the Cessna 310, or actually it's the Cessna 414 in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So, I believe you can put passengers in here in the weights. You can, right? Pilot seat, luggage. You can put in luggage. So let's put in a little bit of luggage. Let's say about 171 pounds of luggage. And then, not sure how to put passengers in here. So what we're going to do is go up to our weights and balances here. And we're going to say, let's be realistic, so 180 and a 200 pounder. And not 300, but let's say 150, right? And a 4th passenger. So let's go, let's go 110. Okay. And we got 50% fuel, which is more than enough. I'm going to leave it, because we don't need so much for this flight. And now, when I turn around and I look in the passenger compartment, I'm going to see 4 passengers, and don't they look familiar? We know these guys and gals. They're, they like to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 a lot. Yeah, I recognize him especially. And her. Okay, so, back to the cockpit. So the electronic flight bag, what does it have? It has all kinds of great options, and one of the options that it has, if you hit the home button, is you can go into configuration. And in configuration, you've got all these really cool, you line your IRS speed, passenger visibility, visible, not visible, pause at top of descent, you have that. Screen style, so you can actually change it from CRT to LCD. And let's see if that makes any difference. It does. LCD is a little dimmer. CRT is a little brighter, as it should be. Active noise reduction, and I guess we can dim the lights or something. We're not going to do that right now. And it has cabin layout, so it says food services, box lunch, pizza, or plated dinner. Awesome. And for calibration, we can calibrate the throttles, but we don't need to do that right now. So we're going to go back to the home tablet and the home window, and we're going to toggle the tablet and wish it away. So here we are in Denver, and I'm going to say that my barometric pressure is fine. And I'm going to look at my flight plan that I've loaded previously. And it says you can load SimBrief flight plans, but I don't do that. I don't pay for SimBrief, but it's good software. I'm going to look at my flight plan and see if there's any discontinuities in it, because that will mess me up. So we're going from Denver to Las Vegas International. Okay. So next takes me back to the first page. And here we go. We have a waypoint. The first one, which is 3.7 miles away. That's going to be too close. We're going to want this one to select it in case the autopilot decides to say, I don't want to do this right out of the box. So we have all of our displays. We have all of our really cool things. And this is how the instrument panel is set up right out of the box. And I love saying right out of the box because, well, we used to have boxes and go to stores to buy stuff. But obviously we just download this off the internet. Anyways, I guess it doesn't apply, but it does, right? We open this right out of the box. So we've got our course, our heading, course heading, altitude, and heading, and you can adjust these things here for when you want to set up your autopilot, or look at what they did here. You're screwed. Well, you're not screwed. See, you're not screwed. See, you're not screwed. You've got heading, altitude, and CDI. So what I want to do is I want to change not my heading, but my altitude. It's going to be a 2-hour flight, or about an hour flight. And this thing apparently can go like, I don't know, it's like, it can go up to 40,000 feet, but that's a bit much for what we want. We're just going to cruise at 36. Let's go to 30. 30's fine. But it can go a lot higher. I have to check the specs on that. I think it goes like, I don't know, 49,000, 50,000 feet. And so we have all of our really cool controls here, all our displays, our autopilot, and nose up, nose down. So we're going to get in all this, and we do have thrust reversers. So I don't want to waste any of your time here on the ground. Let's undo our parking brake. And let's get going, because we've already got a notch of flaps. And it looks like, seeing as how we're using live weather, live time, that we might run into a sunset. I don't know. We'll see. All right. And off we go into the wild, cloudy yonder. So it doesn't really go well with the Air Force song. But if anybody knows it, you can sing along as we take off out of Denver. Let's give it a little bit more go juice, because we are a mile high. Need a lot more runway to take off. Alright, almost there to rollout speed. And up we go. And there we are. Gears up. Let's bring her around town, SpongeBob. Excuse me, Dragon's Growl there. Sometimes that happens. Especially when we're doing things live. Well, when we're not dubbing over. So. Alrighty. So we want to get on course. Sounds good to me. Let's respond to that while we can.
126.1 Derp Hooves, Delta Echo Romeo Papa 007.
I guess we're just going to do a 360 here. Because I'm already rolling to the left, right. To the right. To the pony right. Alright, so I've actually enabled something here. We're just going to have to deal with her for a while. Until I turn the volume down. So I've actually enabled things like the automatic speed, so our speed control. You can find that in the tablet, but I just don't want to be monkeying around with things right now. Or ponying around with things. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. And we're just going to try and get on course.
SkyWest 5268, did you hear my last transmission?
I heard it.
SkyWest 5809er contact ground on 119.475.
And
SkyWest 5268, follow the aircraft on final.
someone might say, but why, Pony? Why would you, why would you leave the Robo ATS on? And, well, or the Robo ATC on. And, well, just because I'm too lazy to go down and turn the knob because I've got one hoof on the stick and the other hoof on the throttle. So I don't have a spare hoof to be turning knobs. Okay, we're 180 out from the course. Let's keep going around till we are back at the start. See, because when you spawn on the runway, which I did, and you don't know how to start the aircraft, I do, but it just takes so long. So I just wanted to spawn on the runway, because sometimes that's fun too. And let's not forget it's a simulator, and we're here to have fun. And maybe some of us are here to learn too, but we're here to have fun. So here we go. We're almost on course. And I mean, it should be quiet the farther away we get. Once we get out of radio range. And there's Denver International. And at this point, I can't remember if I have add-on scenery, but I guess it really doesn't matter because, well, you know, 2020 has been around for 5 years now. About that, right? Has it been 5 years? I thought it came out in 2019. I don't remember. It was in the days of COVID that it came out. And boy, wasn't this a great way to spend some time when you were on lockdown in whatever country you happen to be on. It's like, I'd like to go to, and it's like, nope. You won't be going anywhere, Pony. Unless you want to go to work. But, you know. So it was a great way to spend some time. And now we have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So I wonder how much longer they're going to support 2020. I mean, I would have to wonder anyways. And I am banking kind of hard. I'm going to frighten these passengers a little bit with this type of flying, but I think they're okay. I think they can deal with this. All right. And we're just getting on course, Gonna go through some clouds. You might say, but why do you take so long to get on course? Well, I'm kind of doing a steady turn here without actually really utilizing the rudders, which the rudder, sorry, there's only one rudder on this plane. It's not a twin boom aircraft like the P-38. One rudder, Pony. Rudder, singular, not plural. And let's get here on our course to our first waypoint, because we're pretty much going to set the autopilot on this and just kind of have fun on our flight to Las Vegas in this awesome, amazing airplane. So the one thing I should have done probably is I probably should have enabled lights. So there's our autopilot on. So let's go ahead. Well, it's still bright enough. And let's do those things, shall we? So let's see what I want to do. I want to hit, well, we already have autopilot enabled. And I'm going to want to hit navigation, but we want to go to user point 1, right? User point 1. Right. So, isn't that where we want to go? Or do we want to go to INGRR? Well, let's take a look at our flight plan here. Our flight plan here in a separate window. And we want to go to... Yep, that'll work just fine. And it looks like it's already set to go in that direction. So, let's see what happens when I hit autopilot's on, and then I hit nav. And then I'm going to go to flight management system. I could hit nav. No, I want that. Alright, so that should do us. And we have our altitude set. So we're going to vertical speed nose up just a little bit. And it looks like we have our speed already set. Do we now? We do. We're going to do it manually. 300's fine. Let's do that. Okay. So we are climbing here to the clouds, and we're going to give ourselves a little bit of light. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So, what is it? Why is it that we're flying this plane in 2020 versus, say, 2024? Well, one of them is the lighting problem with 2020. And I really feel for these third-party developers because, you know, Microsoft, well, Asobo is just having some issues with lots of things. Some planes work, some don't. And maybe I'll just leave it at that for right now. Okay. So I am just going to do this for my own peace of mind because the last time I tried to do this any other way, it gave me a problem. And there we go. And now the flight plan is definitely activated. And the aircraft is going to go in the direction it wants to go in. Now I don't know if there's any problems with this aircraft per se. There might be. Ah, that was our next task, is to make her be quiet. Let's find the volume switch, shall we? Because she's going to be our companion for our flight. And somewhere there's a volume button. You might say, well, Pony, it doesn't look like you really have flown this thing that much. Well, I have, believe it or not. And let's see, I don't need floodlights. But I'd like some lighting. I'd like some center lighting. Just because it's kind of gloomy. And I don't really want the gloom. So in theory that should work. Daytime lights are on. Emergency lights are off. Did we ever raise our flaps? We did. Our flaps are up. Okay, I'm just going through things in Pony's brain to make sure Pony is flying the plane correctly. And we don't need the tail flood on. It's nice and dark. We don't need the wing inspection light on. And we don't really need the recognition lights on right now. So, looking for the volume knob. Looking for the volume knob. That's what we are looking for, because I'm going to start talking. And she's going to chime in with all kinds of updates. And had this been a real flight, I would say we need the air traffic controller. But since it's just a simulator, we don't really need her. And let's see if we can find that. And on this farm, he had a pony. E-I-E-I-O. Let's see. Nope and nope and nope and nope, and not seeing it here. No. And you might say, but why, pony? Where is the pilot communication? No. Come on, maybe. Well, I have no idea what turning that does, but we'll find out later. Okay. Can't seem to find... Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, we're almost at our altitude. Speaker. How about volume down? This is my comm. My brightness for my displays. This is to talk to the passengers. But I mean, I could just open the door and shout, right? Hey, we're all going down in the plane. Hope you had a good life. All right. So let's take a look at this beauty from the outside, in flight. So here we are at 30,000 feet, and I know I can go higher, and we would imagine that it flies better and gets better fuel economy the higher we go, but we don't really need that. We're fine just as we are. Flying over the beautiful Colorado Rockies on our way to Vegas. So we're going from one mountain range where it snows to the desert. Vegas, also known as, do they even call it Sin City anymore? Oh well. To Vegas. Has Pony been to Vegas? Well, Pony's not gonna. Pony has been to Vegas a long, long time ago. And I guess it was kind of fun. But I really didn't get to enjoy it or gamble or anything, so. Yeah. And that's fine, too. Alright, so we are just above the clouds. And it looks like we're on course, and it looks like everything's set up. And I can just go to one of my hotkeys. And we can go to the passenger compartment and look out the window. Look at that beautiful view with the flickering lights. Alright. And there's our passengers. So actually it looks like you can sit 8 people on this. And that's awesome. And it has all kinds of other features, like you can drop the shades, you can, you know, as you saw, you can dim the overhead lights, and right now we're not really flying a night flight, we're flying more of a, you know, mid to late afternoon flight, according to time. And we'll just kind of sit here and enjoy our cockpit view. At about, you know, almost 31,000 feet, but 30,900 feet is great. And so, let's see, what can we say about the airplane? Well, so now that we've gotten airborne, we've gotten on course and hit autopilot, we have time to chat. And so this is the Cessna Citation X, or the 10. So it's actually the Cessna Citation 750. Right here. So Citation X, Citation 750. It's an interesting plane, and they're still in service. And you know, it looks like, let's see. Its first official flight was the 21st of December, 1993, and it was introduced in July of 1996, and it was manufactured from 1996 to 2018. So, you know, right before COVID, they stopped making this because they obviously make a new one. And it is a business jet. Now, this does have a pretty impressive range. I think in the sim it's around 3,500. Not so sure what it is in real life. but let's see. Range 3,460 miles in real life with a ceiling of 51,000 feet. So that's what it would be in real life. All right. Now, when I think Cessna, now, most of my life, growing up, when I thought Cessna, I thought, you mean those planes with the wings on the top? You know, you see them all the time at the airport. They're like the Honda Civics of, the airplane world, right? Aren't they the cheapest airplanes? Aren't they the most common airplanes? But yet, Cessna doesn't just make the Cessna 152 and the 172. They make a wide variety and a range of planes. So, they make these jets. Awesome. And you might say, well, Pony, I already know this. And I'm glad that you finally got up to speed with the rest of the world. And I'd say, well, even though I was an aviation enthusiast, I never learned a whole bunch about civil aviation. I was always more focused on military aviation because I thought when I was growing up, who wants these little slow and low aircraft? I mean, Mach 2. And is it because Pony grew up in the time of Top Gun? Well, probably. But I mean, we had, really cool fighter aircraft like the F-15, the F-16, the F-14. Obviously, great fighter aircraft. But it wasn't until I joined the Air Force that I learned that the Air Force has, the United States Air Force actually has Cessna 172s. They might even have some Citations. They have some Lear jets. And a lot of us would think, oh, but the Air Force only has fighter jets. Well, I would say you're wrong on that one. And, if you know anyone who's been in or you've been in yourself and you've been around the planes, it's not just fighter jets. So, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, that's where I was going with this. So, I never really got into civil aviation. Who wants a big sky bus where everyone just piles on and you go from A to B? I mean, you want to be where the action's at, and it's really exciting when you're out there, with air combat, and the voice of a young man speaking who knows yet nothing. And perhaps even as an older man, and an old man, or an old pony, I seem to have learned some things. And so one of the things I've learned is there's different aircraft, and that the military does have civil aircraft. And something that was told to me, and I'll repeat it over and over and over again, for anyone in the world who's saying, oh, but I would love to be a fighter pilot. Well, I will say enjoy DCS. You can fighter pilot yourself in the simulation world as much as you like in DCS. But if you want to become a fighter pilot, at least in the United States, it's going to require a college education, some kind of officer candidate school, and then the physical abilities to be a fighter pilot. So even if you, say, become an officer and get in, and you actually get a pilot's license, you might not be a fighter pilot. You might be a transport pilot. You might be all kinds of different pilots and never get in the cockpit of a fighter plane. And, well, I mean, you can always see Officer and a Gentleman, even though that's a movie more about naval aviation. But it's not really, kind of. It is a little bit, I guess. It's more like a weird love story kind of movie. But, so not everyone gets to become a fighter pilot, and unless you want to become an officer in the Navy and the Air Force in the United States, you won't be flying planes. You might be flying on them, but you won't be flying them. So anyone who wants to go become a fighter pilot, guess what? You're going to have to go to college, or you're going to have to find a way to get into, there's like the Air Force Academy, and I think you can do that. And I just hope that they take you, because they don't take everybody. And good luck on your dreams when it comes to that. But I am going to say that Pony knew this before he joined the Air Force. And he was pretty content with his job, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned what it was, but I'll just keep it to myself. But I was around airplanes a lot. I'll say that much. I was around airplanes a lot. And flight crews. It was fun times for the time I served. But so, civil aviation. So, I always thought, Cessnas. And, I had seen, the Beechcraft Bonanzas and everything else, and I just wasn't much interested in those. And, I figured it would always be fun to get in a Cessna, and, I actually took some classes before I left for the Air Force to be an aircraft mechanic, so I learned a fair amount about airplanes before I went in, and it was interesting. And boy, oh boy, that was interesting. So, I got to learn a lot. And I got to learn something about civil aviation. And I'll say there's nothing wrong with civil aviation. It's amazing if you have the opportunity to fly. If you're physically fit enough for the FAA to clear you, or whatever organization has to clear you in your country, and you can get a pilot's license, awesome. And people have to be approved when you apply for a pilot's license, just like in my country. If you go for a driver's license, there's certain things that disqualify you from a driver's license, and it's actually kind of to keep everybody safe on the road. It's not so much I don't even know how to phrase it, but some of the things people talk about today are really interesting. But the government's trying to stop me from driving. Well, maybe you're not safe to drive. Maybe you have a medical condition, and it might be dangerous if you were to drive. But you're definitely not driving commercially. Anyways, so, just stuff that I'm not going to get into. Because as you grow up, you live and you learn. So let's hop back into the cockpit here. So, and what did I learn? So at one point I learned later in life that Cessna makes private jets. Never would have known that. Never would have thought that. And you figured that's something I would have learned in AMP class? Well, young people and their minds don't want to listen to old people, because what do we know? Anyways, so I'm impressed by the aircraft, the virtual aircraft here. And I did say that I don't like flying it in 2024, and I have many reasons for that. There's still so much scenery available to us in 2020. There's so many extra liveries available to us in 2020. And after 4 or 5 years, they finally got the simulator to a more stable state where less people were having problems with it, and they've ironed out some of the glitches and bugs. And it's still a great sim. And even if people say, I'll go to X-Plane because I want the realism, there's nothing wrong with that. Go to X-Plane. I don't fly X-Plane. I fly this. Just too much to say all at once, huh? So, and for 2024, I'm hopeful and positive that Asobo is going to figure it out, and that they're going to communicate with all their third-party developers better, and that we're going to have some pretty cool planes coming up. And eventually they'll phase out 2020, and we'll see what happens with 2024, but I'm just choosing to stay with 2020 instead of flying 2024. I do fly it. I've got a couple planes I like in it. But again, some of the lighting's not right on this plane, and you might say, but this isn't an Asobo aircraft, so... Right. Well, not sure what that has to do with anything. Not really a big fan of doing free work in the computer industry for people who get paid very well to do their jobs, who are struggling to get their products to work right. And that may sound kind of harsh, but I'll tell you that, you know, Pony's had an interesting life, and Pony likes nice people. How's that? And he tries really hard to be a good pony and not let all the baggage from stuff get to him, and not be like some of the people that he loathed working with and loathed having as bosses and supervisors. But the world's a changing place, so maybe things will change in the world of business. And I will say that the computer industry is a very difficult industry, and lots of people who aren't up to snuff, you disappear. Or you're completely incompetent, but you have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of certificates because you're a good test taker and a good studier, and you've managed not to get fired. But what would I know about that? It's not like I would know anything about it. Yeah. So, Colorado was fun. The Rockies are fun. I drove through them, and I'm sure I know I've flown over them more than once in some of the planes that I've flown. Not flown, sorry, flown in. And I would think to myself it would be so great to actually fly a plane. And that's actually where I come into the simulation of one of the things about Microsoft Flight Simulator, or any flight sim, that I like is that it does give people an opportunity to kind of know what it's like to fly without having to invest in the journey of obtaining a pilot's license and hopefully someday owning your own aircraft. And for some of us, it's just not a reality, and it's just not going to be a reality. And, you know, this simulator is beautiful. So, I do give a big kudos to Asobo for that. It's like someone who can't walk, and you know, hey, we invented a wheelchair for you, and I'm trying not to offend anybody here the best I can. So please don't think that, you know, some of my analogies that I'm using are you know, picking on people, because I don't want to go on rants about how I feel about some things, like, you know, disabled people, and just how some people in the world treat other people that are disabled. Really bothers me. Really does. And I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, I mean, this is beautiful. You're looking out the window, and it looks like we're actually here. It looks like we're actually flying the aircraft. And if I were to put my VR headset on and to look around, that would be great. And if I were to use my Tobii eye tracker, which I don't want to use anymore, in a box, be happy to give it away if someone wants it. Trackball mouse works pretty good, as long as I keep my ball clean, keep it free of dirt, it'll roll smoothly. So we've got a nice scenic view, and pretty much, I mean, we've just got mountains and dirt and clouds everywhere. Oh, look, it looks like we hit another waypoint, so we're trekking on in. And well, I mean, we've got like an hour-long flight, roughly an hour and 8 minutes, probably a little bit more total on this flight, and that gives Pony plenty of time to talk. And how much can I say about airplanes besides they're really cool if you find out how they work. And anyone who's interested in aircraft, I would have to say with the invention of the interweb, that's what it was called, or actually, again, I'll remind you all, the information superhighway. Yeah. And that's kind of funny because around the time that this plane was being developed, that's what the internet was called. And you could sit there in an evening with the TV on and the news would talk about how the information superhighway is going to change the world. And it did. And it changed the world in bad ways and in good ways. And in one of the ways that changed the world is you have so much information at your fingertips. And we also know that we have fake news and fake information. But you have so much information at your fingertips that how can you say you didn't learn anything if you've got a smartphone in your hand? And I'll leave it at that. If you say, well, I don't have a smartphone, I can't afford one. Well, you can afford a PC. I can't afford a PC. You can afford a Raspberry Pi. You can afford a PC. Nowadays, you can afford a bottom-of-the-barrel PC, which is maybe a negative phrase, but you can go afford a PC and go surf the information superhighway. Yep. The internet. And you can find out all kinds of cool stuff. So you can learn about how planes work. You can learn how to cook a meal in case like your parents didn't teach you how to cook, which, let's try and stay focused on not being too critical. So there's so much that you can learn. And one of the things that, I wanted when I wanted to start this channel was anybody can fly a plane. And I mean, anybody who's physically able and mentally able to fly a plane can fly a plane with a little bit of learning and a little bit of studying. I mean, you had to learn how to drive a car, which is much easier. I mean, that's more of a two-dimensional thing versus a three-dimensional thing because there's altitude in a plane. You're moving more through three-dimensional space versus the two-dimensional roads. And they both have their challenges, especially for some people. But through the simulator, you can learn all the cool ways to fly a plane, and you might not know the systems because they might not be modeled exactly the same in the sim as they are in real life, or IRL. I mean, the basics of flying a plane, I mean, I think I've talked about this. We can go all the way back to the first, aircraft, after the Wright Flyer. Sorry, but the Wright Flyer would be one of them. But, like some of the first biplanes, where they just had really basic gauges, and it was up, down, left, right, or port and starboard, and they had to learn. And they didn't have fancy autopilots and navigation systems and all of this stuff to learn. They learned, and they taught it to us. And now we have these wonderful machines, like this plane, that we can travel the globe on. We can travel the Earth on and go from A to B to C, go on vacations, go on business trips, whatever. If you can afford the ticket, you can take the ride. But to actually fly a plane, well, again, not getting into that. I think it's been covered. I think a lot of people understand that there's requirements, and one of them is money. And, I mean, it's kind of like, what do you want to do? And if you can save up the money, because actually, I'll get into that. You know what? I'll get into that. Because as much as I used to say you have to be rich in order to get a pilot's license, that's not true. I've actually met a few people and worked with a couple people who, found ways to get their pilot's license, even on, wages that really, survival wages. It's minimum wage, a little bit above. And they're not rich, and they're like, well, I got a pilot's license, and they're working on getting them, and I wish them the best. And not everyone gets to own a plane, but, you know, the same thing. It's like a lot of these private jets, well, you know, pilots are hired, they have gig jobs, and, you know, unlike airline pilots. Aviation industry is interesting. I'll say that much. But, moreover, my point is if you can drive a car, you can fly a plane, and you can teach yourself how to fly a plane, and there's all these resources at your fingertips, and some of them are free. You can watch some YouTube tutorials, and some of them aren't great, but they'll teach you the basics of flight. The basics of human flight, because, you know, we're obviously not birds, so, you know, birds fly differently than man does. But yeah, whatever you want to do. I mean, if you want to learn how to fly a plane, then go for it. I've even heard stories, again, going back to people who are, you know, disabled, or whatever the proper term for it is today. Please forgive me. I'm not up on all of it. And yes, I do have friends who have health conditions and stuff, if I'm allowed to say that today. And I've even heard of people flying without feet. Now, I don't know how you do that because I don't know how you work the rudder pedals, but I know I should go on the internet and go see how that happens. So, because I know that there's someone out here someone in the world, and I guess she's known in the aviation community of, she doesn't have any feet or legs or something like that. She just has arms, and somehow she manages to fly aircraft. And I remember that because a long time ago I saw a video or on TV about it, and it was pretty cool. So, I mean, I guess if you set your mind to it, you know, you probably can do this. So I'm going to say, you know, if you're the average man or woman, and you're just like, gee, I just don't know. It's just so complicated. I mean, I've always wanted to, but it's just too much. I just can't. Well, I mean, if you don't research it, you won't know. And then maybe you'll live your whole life not knowing that you had an opportunity and something you wanted, but you really didn't take it. Yeah. So, anyways, if you want to fly, I encourage you to just say, okay, I want to do it. And also know the risks of flight. Yeah. So, wow. I mean, again, this is where this sim is just, it's beautiful to just sit here. And even though we're an autopilot, so let's go back into the cabin. Look out a window. So we just have to activate the simulator window, and there we go. We could look out the window and say, gee, look, we have a wing seat. We're sitting there and the clouds are rolling on by as we fly over. Where are we? We're not Colorado anymore, that's for sure. Alright, well, we're on our way to Vegas, so cool. Sorry, I'm a little pony tired, enjoying my days off with flight simming. And, anyhow, I'm just going to say, if you want to fly, I totally encourage you to go and try it, because you don't know until you try, and if you never try, you'll never know. So, sometimes it's better to know and learn that something's just not available to you, and that you tried your best, versus never trying at all, and then finding out at some point, boy, if I just would have gone left instead of gone right, I wonder what would have happened. Well, that's just wisdom that comes with age, and it comes with people telling other people, usually older people telling younger people, giving them advice, and whether younger people want to listen to some of the good advice that some of the older people have, because, you know, when you're young, and I'll just say this, when you're young, you have the whole world in front of you, for the most part. And even if you don't think that you do, you might just. But maybe you're just limiting yourself. Maybe somebody put it in your head that you can't do something. Or for whatever reason, you don't have enough money, it's just not for you. And, well, there's also no reason to be all angry about people telling you can't do something. Go for it. Try it. You know. Which is where I came into some of my own learning experiences in life, where I had some people in my life tell me to be a little bit more realistic, and on some of it they were right, and on some of it they were way wrong. And if you let other people tell you what you can and can't do, to some extent, you might sell yourself short of great experiences in life. Now, I'm just getting all philosophical here and old manish. So, anyhow, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy flying in the simulator. I think it's great. You know, I think it's great that they have driving simulators for people who can't drive and want to drive or whatever. I do. And I also think that sometimes in life that some things can also take up too much of your time, which is why you've got to limit yourself how much time you want to spend on the flight sim, how much time you have to, you know, do your life things, you know, like do chores, go to work, because, you know, maybe, and for some people in their lives, there's nobody to help you. Maybe you're all on your own, and stuff's not going to get done unless you do it. You know, laundry's not going to do itself, the groceries aren't going to go shop themselves and magically show up at your door. You know, mom and dad aren't here to take care of you anymore. And for some people, you know, mom and dad were never there to take care of them, and that's not the case for me. So I have to give my parents, who are still alive today, plenty of credit for everything that they've done. But yeah, I mean, we all know that some people are like, my parents suck. And sometimes some people's parents really do suck. You know, and, you know, on the occasion, in my years on this earth, I don't know who my parents are. Which is another interesting conversation. And, you know, a reality for other people. I have no idea who my actual parents are. I have no idea. I was, you know, raised by the system. I was raised in an orphanage. I was, you know. So you never really know about people until you get interested and you want to ask and if they want to tell you. But sometimes advice can be great, and sometimes advice can be terrible. So, and I will tell you, sometimes there's good advice that, you know, even I wish I would have listened to, instead of saying, oh, I know it all. Bacon double cheeseburger. I'd love to have a bacon double cheeseburger right about now. But that's not going to happen. Anyways. So, not everyone is out to limit you. Some people are actually out to help you live your life. So, your outlook on things sometimes shapes how things are, what you do, blah, blah, blah. Gee, Pony, you like to ramble so much. Well, wow, I just don't want to depress everybody. So, I'll just say that sometimes things happen in your life that make you aware of taking the time to enjoy things in life and do some of the things that you want. And if we were to go by Pony's philosophy of life, which is actually adopted from something else, because, again, Pony had to learn about many things, and And there's certain things that maybe we'll cross that bridge in my videos when we get there, just because, some people get very easily offended at certain things. And so I'd rather not make people upset, But I will say this, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, then what's wrong with what you're doing? And hopefully as long as you're not hurting yourself. In so many ways. Your health, that's one of them. But so many ways. As long as you're not hurting others or hurting yourself to have a good time, then, what could be wrong with it? Well, I guess to an extent, that's a pretty good philosophy, right? Most people should learn to live their life that way. Well, I'm not hurting anybody, so, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? So that's something that Pony does believe in. As long as you're not intentionally out to hurt people and you're having a good time, then hey, that's great. And when you do go out and you do things like that, again, I've seen something where people call it karma, and sometimes I call it divine justice, and I have seen it with my own two eyes fall into play. And sometimes people do bad things, and it comes back to get them in ways that they couldn't have even imagined. So, and some people would say the universe, and I'm going to say that I believe in the universe too. We're all aware that we're on a big orb flying around the void that we like to call the universe. So the universe exists. I just don't believe that the universe has a personality. I do believe in something, and I think I've mentioned it before, but again, I'll just watch my subscribers drop off the face of the earth, which, that's going to happen too. Not everyone's going to like Pony, but I'll just say it. I do believe in God, and I'm not going to try and push it on anybody, but I'm just saying that, I think that people should live a life without wanting to hurt other people, that's all. Without intentionally wanting to hurt other people. And, again, what you do with your life is up to you. And at the very least, I would say this. I respect everybody who either believes in some kind of higher power. I like to call my higher power God. But even if you don't, and I should know a lot about this too, so then how do you want people to remember you? That would be one of the really good questions, isn't it? How do you want people to remember you? Do you want people to remember you as that dick? That asshole? Oh, am I allowed to say asshole on YouTube? No. Someone believes in God, and they said asshole and dick. Well, yeah. But, is that how you want to be remembered? So that when you're not here, so that your children, your family members, all of them, and some people might even say, what do I care? I won't be here. Okay. Well, but then as you walk around the world and you interact with others, because you're going to have to, sometimes you're the person that people are like, man, whenever this other pony goes away, my day will get better, because I really don't like being yelled at, because they're upset that the company I work for is selling eggs for a certain price and I can't do anything about the price, and they want to vent and rant at me because I'm their point of contact, and really there's nothing I can do about it except for ring them up and send them out the door, and if they don't want it, then they can just leave it here and it'll go back. If you don't want to pay for it here, and all of your yelling and screaming and venting or just bitching and pissing and moaning, and especially when people make scenes about that stuff. It's like, okay, well, I mean, you've just, I'm just saying. Is that how you want people to remember you? Because usually people that do that also kind of do that everywhere. And so, even if you don't believe that there's more to life or more to existence than this life, and I will also say this as I say that, don't try and jump off a bridge or commit suicide in any way, shape, or form. If you do have suicidal thoughts or you are suicidal, please get the help you need. And I'll leave that at that, just because we're on the topic. And I won't go into detail about that because it's, again, people get very touchy about it. And I understand totally. Because like I said, Pony has done many things in Pony's life that he won't specify. But been a hard-working pony, I'll put it to you that way. So, even if you don't believe in an afterlife, even if you don't believe in a god or a giant Yoda on Tatooine, I don't know. Do you really want your family and friends and other people to be like, that guy's a dick? Don't go talk to that pony because that pony just, dude, no. You got better things to do, like smack yourself in the head with a golf club. And again, don't do that. Good advice and bad advice. Good advice is don't smack yourself in the head with a golf club. So, what does that have to do with flying? Not much. Golf and flying, I don't know. And I will say that sometimes on this channel too, I know that I've been kind of critical about some people and perhaps even judgmental. And I guess sometimes I can't help how I feel about certain things. And maybe I'm wrong too when I say, these people and those people. Well, people are people, right? So, my overall point is, again, just enjoy your life and try not to hurt other people and try and do some good. And again, if you were to, I don't know, say die tomorrow, because you just don't know if that's going to happen, is that how you want to be remembered? And that's a good question, Is that what you want people saying about you when you're not here? And how about even if you do believe in an afterlife, is that what you want people to be saying about you when you're not here? So, we'll just kind of leave that one out there. And I wish I had better pony advice to give every pony who might watch this video for as long as it stays up on YouTube and whatever other platforms it may find itself on at someday. Somewhere, who knows what. Because I've certainly learned that I don't know everything. Hopefully I give some good advice to somebody. And as I sit there and ramble on at a whopping... Did it drop our speed? No, we're at 300 knots. And we're actually at ground speed of 449 knots. And we're getting real close to Vegas. People say, didn't Pony say something about Vegas being called Sin City? And you've got to have heard that, somewhere. You had to have. At some point in your life. But again, let's not go passing judgment on other people, because I will share this one wonderful piece of pony wisdom with you that it's actually probably a variation of something else. But before you go judging other people, maybe you should stand in front of a mirror and take a good look at yourself before you go judging other people. And that's a little bit of pony wisdom out there. Pony wisdom. Maybe I could do something with that. I wonder how our passengers are doing. Let's go magically jump in the back and go find out. Let's see. Hey, I think let's see what the boxed lunch and pizza does. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to leave the tables up. She looks like she's hungry for something. And, yep. Oh. Butter hooves. Look at that. Alright. What I have noticed about this aircraft, since I was on my tangent about life advice, take it or leave it, is... I think it was in configuration, wasn't it? Not in state. Cabin layouts. Pizza. Food service pizza. So what happens when I hit food service pizza? Are they going to eat pizza? What in the world is food service pizza? Are we having pizza? I don't know what food service pizza does. Is there pizza? Look at that! There's pizza! How about that? And some kind of off-brand Coke. Yeah. Some kind of something you get at the 99-cent store. Well, let them all eat pizza. Look at that. Oh, no pizza for you. But she's hungry, everybody. Well, let's go there and feed her too. What if I do, you know what? We're gonna do a, plated dinner. Because now I have the table out. So, back to the magic cabin button. And let's look. Plated food. Look, it's magical. Well, they don't get to eat. That's a bummer. I'm so sorry that you don't get to eat. That's pretty interesting. So they're having cheese and what, toast? Okay, and the other one was boxed lunch, so well, we might as well. I'm gonna let them have pizza. But what does boxed lunch look like? Just fascinated by this, you know, it's like, wow. Alright. That's up. So, how come they get to eat, but they don't get to eat? Yeah, let's just... Yeah. Well, if there's pizza, they get to eat. So, let's do that. Because they can share. Like the loaves and the fishes. Yeah. Yeah. That's what pizza is. Let's do that. Okay. Pizza for every pony. Alright. Now, I still don't know what this slider does. Is it like the tablet brightness? I guess. Well, that sucks. So... Well, not going to be on everyone's plate, but we'll figure that out later. And I'll hide the tablet because I just don't want it here. And we're going to go back and make sure that everyone's eating pizza because I know she's hungry. She was staring at the table. She was staring at something. Maybe she's not hungry for food. I don't know. Yeah, there's plenty of pizza for everybody to eat. Maybe not drinks, but there's pizza. And this guy, I don't know what's on his mind. Probably nothing. You don't like your pizza? Oh, well. No. Enjoy your pizza, and I'm going to give you guys some privacy back there in the cabin. Well, you go ahead and eat your pizza. Maybe they're depressed because they heard what Pony was talking about. So what are some of the other features in this aircraft since we're here? One of the great features is you have a sunshade, and it does kind of work. So if you're flying into the sun, you can bring the sunshade down. It looks like the fuses don't work on the fuse panel. So being a steady level aircraft would not be what this is. But it's still a fun aircraft to fly all the same. So if you're looking for a steady level Cessna Citation, then this is not it. But all the same, it's a great Cessna Citation. Now, I do watch other people's YouTube videos. Don't think that I just sit in my own little ponyverse and I don't pay attention to anybody else. I do follow other people. And I was watching, so I'll agree with, and I forget who it was, that this plane could be an alternative to people who want to fly the airliners. You know, like the Airbuses and our Boeings that we have right now. I mean, it's definitely going to compete with it with the range. And it flies a lot nicer than the airliners. It's because it's a smaller plane, right? So, I mean, that's great. And if I were to go through all the features on the aircraft, which this is not a feature video, this isn't let's explore every aspect of the plane, it's not that expensive. If you're looking for a nice alternative to the stock Cessna Citation that you get from Flight Simulator 2020, this is a good alternative. If you want to fly in Flight Simulator 2024, I will say there's some lighting issues like there are with some of the Asobo aircraft. Asobo needs to work on that. I have faith that they will. And also the whole liveries and getting other scenery, especially freeware scenery. But, you know, payware is good too. Sometimes payware is really good. Sometimes payware is not that good. If this is what you want to spend your money on, then go for it. And, you know, it's an interesting little hobby, flight simming, right? Now, we are going to be flying this by hand when we come in for a landing, but there's really no point into flying it by hand. But you know what? Let's pick up the pace a little bit here. Even at 30,000 feet, I could bring up the airspeed to about 320. Just to get us going a little faster. An extra 20 knots never hurt anybody or any pony. We can even switch back to the outside view of this beautiful airplane and give ourselves a view of the surrounding terrain. As we inch closer and closer to our destination. Right now we are flying over Utah on our way to Nevada. Alright. And you can tell because somewhere, is that the Great Salt Lake out there? No, it's on the map. There it is. It's on my little nav map. That is not the Great Salt Lake. That's just like a puddle. Alright. Now, I gotta hand it, I forget. Now, I guess I'll talk a little bit more about planes here. I did get this livery on FlightSim.to. It was free. And again, as I said in the beginning of this video, I slightly modified it from what it was. Just a little bit. I'm not sure how exactly I modified it, but I did just a little bit. So if the Derp Your Hooves logo isn't your thing, rest assured, I just slightly modified someone else's livery. Because I said, wow, that's so cool. And it is a 2020 livery. I don't think, as of the time of this video, you can get it in 2024. And there are some really nice third-party 2024 liveries, too, which just gives you a little bit more of a choice, I would say, of, you know, what you might want. So you're not just stuck with 2 or 3 liveries because the sim is only going to give you so many. You get a bunch. Which is fun within itself. Because you get that variety of choice. And you might say, well, why does Pony sometimes pause so much? Well, sometimes Pony's also multitasking here as he's doing the flight, but it's just how life goes. And it's all flight sim related, as sometimes I'm looking at my destination, like for example, I'm like, well, what is Pony doing? And I could say, well, I think I showed this to you before. See, we got the autopilot going on, so let's just go into OBS and let's look it up and let's see if I actually have it. I could just add it really quick. Let's see. It's going to be window capture, and it's going to be our browser. And let's see. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to put that up there, and there it is, and it should be active in the window. So what is Pony looking at? So Pony is actually looking at that. And you might say, well, why would Pony be looking at that? I'm going to say, well, here's my meta, and these are all free online. So that's letting me know what how the wind is. So I don't have to bother with the air traffic controller, and I can land in any direction I want because I know that I want to land into the wind. I want to land upwind, not downwind. So you can see that we have a wind with a heading of 230 degrees at 817 knots at Harry Reid International Airport, which is where we're going. So we know that as per the runway, depending on what runway we are on, and it gives you a choice down here, depending on which one you're choosing, to let you know. Because the wind's not going to change direction, even if the runway changes direction. So if you get a different runway, and you wanted to land on something without the air traffic controller, you'd know, and it's just, I googled it, it's right there, it's just this free MEDAR stuff, mainly for pilots. And then we have SkyVector, my friend SkyVector. And SkyVector gives us everything we need to know about the airfield that we are landing at. And sometimes it gives us a map. And so I can say, well, gee, I went from Denver International, which was an absolute nightmare to land at, to another airport that has, well, 4 runways, but actually 8 because it's 2 per runway. So which one's which? And I don't really know because, you know, I'm busy flying the sim. Right. See? So sometimes I'm doing that in the background, just kind of looking at which way we're coming in, depending on which runway we pick. And so sometimes that makes me pause as I look at other things. When I do it live and I didn't just do a flight and record it as I was flying it and then voice it over. But we are coming close to our destination. Super close. As a matter of fact, we're almost there, so we really should hop back in the cockpit. And yeah, I think you blew this, Pony. So I can actually pick any runway that I want. I am super close. I was babbling so much that I didn't realize that I am literally right outside Las Vegas. So here's another way that you can land the aircraft. You can say vertical speed. You can go to select a lower altitude. I would say, let's do... Go ahead. No, 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 no. That'll work. And then I hit vertical speed, and I go nose down. And then I can drop my actual speed by a lot. And it's just a nifty little trick. So that we're kind of doing our top of descent. Which is actually where we're at right now. We're at our top of descent, so that'll work. And if you were paying attention to the other screen that I had up, let's go bring that up really quick so we can take a look at where exactly what the airport looks like. So I've got so many other windows here that we're just going to go here, and it's all the way at the top, and I've got Chrome 1, and or that one. That'll work. Whoopsie. Did I do that? Then let's just refresh it. There it is. Should have popped up, but it didn't because we're in the wrong window. And there we go. So I'm looking here, and as I look on my screen to come in, I have an elevation of 2033, 2048, 2078, 2089, 2175. So depending on which way I'm coming in, and let's go ahead and open up the MEDAR window. And let's take a look. So, let's see here. If I am... What's my heading? My heading is about 225. So we would say, what, 26 left? So if I choose 26 left, I'd want to come in at 26, left or right. And I know that we're in the 2000s, so if I was to do 26 left or right, I have 2023 and 2048 as my elevation. So 2000. And so then I would say, well, what's my current altitude? Well, let's look at my current altitude. Oh, I killed the window. Well, I'll bring the window up. There we go. So, sorry about that. So, we have 26 right and left. We have elevations of 2033 and 2048. So, sorry about that. I thought they were up. Alright, so if I do that, then what's my current altitude? Because it should be dropping, right? Right. So, let's go look at our current altitude. Well, it's right there in front of you, but as I'm cycling through windows, it's not right in front of me. So we're at 14,000 and dropping. Because I actually decided to really drop some speed here, so I'm going to do an altitude hold at 14,000. And I'm going to let it tell me that I'm supposed to be at a certain amount of feet. And I'm going to leave it right there. Just because I don't want to clip a mountain on my way in. But the airport, that is, what, like Lake Havasu or something? So the airport's right in front of me. So we could actually start taking over manually. So we'd have to drop by 10,000 feet to get in there. And the one thing I could do is I could just kill all the autopilot options. Right, we don't need autopilot right now. And we don't need locational, and we don't need altitude hold. Alright, so. Pony has control of the airplane. Alright, so we're coming in here to our destination. It's coming up real soon. real soon we're on top of it. So we're either doing 26 left or 26 right. I don't know yet. But I know I'm like right outside town. So I'm thinking we're going to do... What do we say? 26? One of the 26s. I'm just going to take one of them. 26 right or left. Doesn't matter. 2,000-ish feet. 2048, 2033. And so I am too high. So I need to be lower. I am 10,000 feet too high. Alright, so we're coming in. And let's focus. And there's Vegas in the background. And actually I could just cut the engines all the way off. And I could hit the air brakes, Mav. Yeah, speed brakes, whatever. Well, there's not our airport. Right. That's not it. Or is it? No, that's Nellis. Sorry, passengers. Oh, they're eating food. Well, oh well. It's a sim, right? So let them eat pizza while we land. Although, this is Pony, your captain speaking. Please put your pizza away and fold up your tray tables so that you're not wearing your pizza and your drinks as we come in for a landing. Okay, and at this altitude, 9,000, I'm having a hard time seeing the airport, but I know roughly where it is. It's right here off the strip. And it should become more visible to me the lower I get. 8,000 feet. You gotta fix your settings, Pony. There she is. That's where we want to be. And seeing as how we're doing this all in one take and it's not edited, so it's not like this is my best landing out of 5. This is the landing that we're going to get. Again, Hoover Dam's over there. I forget what lake the Hoover Dam sits on. Sorry. I am busy trying to fly the aircraft. And I see little blinky lights right down there that let me know that other people are coming in. Now, you would say, shouldn't you call this into the tower? Well, the tower is just going to tell me what the tower is going to tell me. And again, if I look at my MEDAR here, yeah, I want runway 26. Left or right, I don't care. I would say right would be preferred. But again, it doesn't totally matter. 1 notch of flaps. 220 knots is fine for a maneuvering speed. How many more notches of flaps? 2? 1 is fine. I just couldn't see it with the throttle in the way. Now I am too high, so let's go for 2 notches of flaps and cut the throttle back and bank and maybe some speed brakes. And I'm not so sure if it's wise to deploy your gears. This is a terrible approach. This is a scary pony landing. Yes, it might end up being a scary pony landing. Okay, that's too much of a drop in speed and we're not lined up with the runways, but let's drop our gears. Because that every pony is our airport. That is Las Vegas International. So we're going to go for 26 right. And no, we are not going around. 2 notches of flaps. And our altitude is our selected altitude is going to be flashing at us up there on the display. because we didn't change it to the right altitude of the runway. Now, you would say, why do you need such a large runway to land, Pony? I don't. I really don't. Runway or taxiway, Pony? Which is it? Well, it's very hard to tell from this far out, but we do need some more throttle. Or we're not going to make it. We're going to stall the plane out. So, are we landing on a taxiway or are we landing on a runway? And I'm going to say most likely we are landing on a runway. But it wouldn't be the first time that someone Harrison Forded a plane in the sim. And hey, everybody, give him a break. He is a pilot. Right? Alright. Would you look at that? Someone's crossing the active runway. That's scary. Alright. So here we come. And some people would say too fast, Pony, too fast. Well, let's see if I can land straight. And yeah, 130 knots is a wee bit too much. No, landing lights. Yeah, those help. Dragon's hiccup. Alright. And a little bit of skippiness with the frame rates as we come in, which we'll have to deal with. Boy, this is a bad landing. Let's try not to bounce. And again, not level. And not a great landing. They're going to complain. Can we thrust reverse it? Thrust reversers aren't working for some reason. Okay, well. Maybe I don't have the right binding. Oh well, we didn't need them. So let's go ahead and get off the taxiway. Bring our flaps back up. And let's park her. And I would say let's go to one of these great fancy terminals. Oh, by the way, as I continue to ramble, I did upgrade recently to the latest Vegas scenery, which is the 2024. So in that one thing, the dome, what's that thing in Vegas? It's the obnoxious dome. We have the yellow face. And we don't have to purchase 2024 to get it. So here we go. And I would say let's pull into a terminal, but let's not. Let's go to the appropriate place to park this aircraft. We have all these terminals, and if you were flying an airliner, well, it doesn't really matter. You can land and park wherever you want, but if you want to try and, again, have some semblance of realism, then, well, you might even want to, like, communicate with the air traffic controller and have them assign you a runway at such a large airport. Alright. But I'm going to go where I know where to go, where I know there's GA parking. So, let's keep going there. Alright, we're going to have to cross 2 active runways. So I will kindly stop. And by the way, I do have live traffic on. I just have the nameplates turned off. So hopefully I didn't tick off too many flight simmers in 2020 with my landing. But how does a pony coordinate everything with... You're either using the sim ATC or using this ATC, and that guy cut me off, and, well, it's not real, every pony, remember that? This is a simulation. It's a really nice simulation, but all the same, it's a simulation. Alright, look to our left. Look to our right. Make sure no one's coming down the taxiway at us. As we get nearer and nearer to the active runways, because we're just taking this taxiway to get there. And again, if I were to do this the better way, you know, the ground traffic controller would be telling me what runway, what taxiways to take, and cross what active runway, and yada 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 yada, and that's good and fun too, still on just taxiways. And I will say that if you're in a place like Denver, Denver is so confusing. Did I land? That's weird. The windsock seems wrong. Oh well. Alright. It does. No. That's why we check the MEDAR. I don't see any pony. I don't see any pony coming. And we'll just continue on. We're going to have to cross 19 left, and I'm guessing 19 right. Or not. Because we actually veer off here. And I hope I don't get hit by a 747 or a 777. Yep, we do. We have to cross this one too. So to kind of have some realism, we're going to stop. We're going to look. I don't see any lights. I don't see any flashing beacons coming in. So I'm going to say we're good to go. A little bit of sim skip. You see, this windsock's doing a totally different thing. Well, sometimes you can't trust the graphics in the game. See, there's the big dome, and sorry, every pony, I don't really go to Vegas, so I don't remember what it's called, but, you know, like I said, I can always, oh, we're on the runway. This is not what I wanted. We'll go runway to taxiway really quick and get off of here. Runway to taxiway. Without rolling the plane. Because we're looking for more of a GA parking, which is in this general direction. Not so much big fancy terminals with the Skyway jet bridges. But more of a GA parking. Anyhow, this is where GA parking was in the sim before I got the airport add-on. So that's why we're parking here. I can always look at my little nifty map there that I have from SkyVector, and it'll show me where GA parking is. But I would say this looks a lot like GA parking to me. So we will just park right here. Then call it a flight. Yeah, this looks like the general location of GA parking. Now, are there actual parking spaces out here, or is it just an open tarmac? Well, here's the private hangar, so one would guess so, but I'm not seeing any lines anywhere. So I'm just going to kind of park off over here, so I'm not really blocking a hangar. I'm kind of doing my own thing today. And that's good. That way people can get around me, turn off my landing lights, hit the parking brake, hop on in. Well, look at that. We're getting quite some stuttering here at Las Vegas International. And I guess, well, I have to do some research to find out why there's so much lag and stutter right now. But so we go to ground services. I'm going to say chocks. I want chocks in place. And if I don't see the ground power, which I'm not seeing, I'm going to hide that yoke. That's no yoke now. And I'm going to go over here to the APU, and I'm just going to go max air bleed cool. APU start. And I'm going to see my RPM go up. And the generator's already on. I don't have to reset it. .68 RPM, 72. .101, that's about where it should be. Disengage the starter, make sure it's still there, generator's on. And let's kill the engines. Cut off the engines. That'll bring those down. And let's see, what do we not need? We don't need our pitot heats. We don't really need our navigation lights. We could leave our recognition lights on. No, they're off. We'll do ground recognition on top. Alright, so we have that. And I'm going to open the door. And I'm going to open the luggage door. And then I'm going to come out and do an outside view. I don't really think we need them. But that looks very official to me, and then everything's open, the stairs are deployed, and we're good, and the engines are off, and the APU is on. So there we are. We are at Nellis, or not Nellis, we're at McLaren. McNaren. Is it McLaren or McNaren? I forget. We are at Harry Reid. Yep. Harry Reid International. Okay, so that's where we are. So that was it right there. That was the flight in the Cessna Citation X by Flight FX. Great little plane. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed our flight on it. And, well, they're probably still eating pizza because I didn't stow the pizza before we landed. That's my fault. But anyhow, so like I wanted to say to everyone and every pony, always like it when you guys like and subscribe to Derp Your Hooves. You guys keep me motivated to keep the channel going. And, you know, you don't have to if you don't want to, but it always helps out. And as always, to everyone and every pony, thanks for watching Derp Your Hooves. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the skies.